Welcome back, guys, to Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, where we've come to another point of perception as Lamiroir has taken the stand, saying that she saw nothing. She saw nothing. She knows nothing of the crime at all. We managed to press to get ourselves a split testimony yet again. So either this statement here, when my performance was finished I went backstage for just a moment, or I saw nothing. The late Mr. Latouse's body was behind a wall. Oh, she saw nothing. She saw nothing. Well, if it's going to be one of the two, it's probably going to be the new testimony that we're going to have to perceive on. So let's give it a go. Find out what her nervous twitch is. Considering there's no hands, it's got to be somewhere facially, maybe. Not probably down there. That was not going on the first bit. Eyes and mouth are fine. I think it's there. It's really easy to find it when someone's not got much more on display of their body. Late Mr. Latouse's body, you say? Yes. You know something more about Mr. Latouse's death than you were saying. What? I can see you trying not to remember, but the effort made you swallow. You can't fool my eyes. It is true. It was so terrible after all. Why did Mr. Latouse have to be shot? One moment, Lamiroir. Yes? What was that you just said? Why did Mr. Latouse have to be shot? Yes? She was hiding something, I knew it! Lamiroir, I'm afraid you haven't realized it, but your words just now contradict your testimony. Eh? How could that be? Take this. Lamiroir contradicted her own testimony, and I have the evidence to prove it. Well, it's because you mentioned the fact he'd been shot. For someone who wasn't part of the investigation, hadn't entered the room fully to see, and with everyone else under an investigation request gagging order. How'd you get this information? Tell me, Lamiroir. How do you know he had been shot? Eh? Well, Immediately following the incident, a gag order was placed on the scene. This is the document proving that. In your testimony, you told the court. No one told me anything about the incident. Furthermore, you testified that you had seen nothing. Yet you knew that Mr. Latouse had been shot. How could you have known? Yuck! How come the back of her mouth-covering garb is not see-through? A one-way garb? Lamiroir! You aren't hiding something from this court, I hope? That sweet song of hers was sounding a little too sweet. Now I remember. Please, allow me to add to my testimony. Of course. All you want to know is the truth. She looks kind of pale, huh? She saw something, I know it. Even the victim said so. I saw bullet holes in the wall and knew Mr. Latouse had been shot. Okay then. That still means you entered the room quite fully to be able to see that. Because you'd had to enter through the door and then turn around. No one enters or looks from the door and then just looks at the wall next to them when the light's already on, for example, so there's no light switch to hit and they don't know where the light switch is. Hold it! It's suspicious itself. Only a glimpse that you knew there were bullet holes? Yes, I recognized them immediately. I've seen bullet holes before, you know. You've traveled the world as a singer. You must have sung in places far more dangerous than our country. I go wherever my voice is needed. Those places are many these days. That's really cool. I hope I get to travel like Lamiroir someday. I plan on recording my next album overseas. Their studios have a different sound, you know. Maybe I should go on a Chords of Steel tour too. Right, so we've got to press something on that. Well, pressing didn't work. Right, so the gagging order doesn't work. We can no longer get information another way. I mean, this contradicts the rest of her testimony now. got to be about the bullet holes. I mean, do we actually have anything that shows stuff? Okay, we have that. No, the door's blocking the bullet holes. Exactly, you'd have to have entered the room properly. Maybe I'm presenting this to say, oh yeah, so you didn't enter the room then. No, you did. You really did. You only got a glimpse through the door. Bull! Bull! Objection! Lamiroir, they call you the siren of the ballad. But lies are hardly becoming of such a creature. A put-down worthy of our prosecutor, Mr. Justice. Such put-downs are hardly becoming of you, Apollo. Stop polishing your forehead and start polishing your character, Yar. Come on, can I be cool for once? Observe the diagram. Lamiroir, you looked in from the door for just a moment, correct? Yes, that is so. There were bullet holes in the room, yes. They were in the wall the door is on. You see, assuming you merely glanced into the room, you couldn't have seen those bullet holes. Yuck! Singing like a ballad, like, yuck! Lamiroir! Yes? I'm afraid the defense has raised a good point. It appears you have been holding back something. I must tell you what it is that I saw. Yes. The happenings in this trial are being recorded, and I'm certain it will be on the news in Borginia. You understand your reputation's at stake. It falls to you to avoid tarnishing it. Personally speaking, I still believe that cross-examining her will yield us absolutely nothing. But she knew how Mr. Latouche died, and he named her as a witness. He must have seen something, Lamiroir. Very well. Lamiroir, please continue your testimony. Very well. I shall. So where did you see it from, then? You entered the room, didn't you? I was on my way from the stage to the backstage exit. There was something like a little window there. Really? That's how I saw it. Okay. Which means you would have seen the killer. You could literally see the person holding the gun. Who was the killer? There were 2 shots. I couldn't do anything to stop it. But it wasn't Machi. It was a grown person. I know it was. So you did witness the crime. And the killer was a grown person, you say? Ach, this is my first time hearing this, I assure you. Nice play, Herr Forehead. Very well, Herr, Mr. Justice. You may begin your cross-examination. Great going, Apollo. You were right about Lamiroir. What's wrong? You don't look too happy. This whole thing smells fishy. That's what's wrong. I mean, your testimony contradicts another point now. We're in a bit of a loop. After all, I think personally that he was shot from the window, which places her in the killer spot. Just because of trajectory of bullets, etc. I don't know. Well, actually, maybe that can't even happen. But that said, if she is there, she should have seen the killer and seen their face. At least from the side profile. She would have known who'd done it, especially if they ran away. But if it was a grown man... I mean, we did see a grown man there. But the whole basis that Machi's been put in the dock is that he's a kid and he's the only one who could escape because the grown man couldn't escape because, well, we were there at the door. That's why I think the window is the only place to shoot from. Ay, ay, ay. I was on my way from the stage to the backstage exit. So you were heading toward the dressing room? Yes. So this is a little before she opened the dressing room door and dropped her brooch. About the same time Emma and I heard those shots. I was on my way back. There was something like a little window there. That's how I saw it. What exactly is something like a little window? Yes, well, window is the best word I know in English. I think this is how it is said, yes. You need not worry, Lamiroir. Your choice of words is impeccable. There is a small window in the dressing room in question. Perhaps the defense remembers this detail? A little window on the wall. I saw the crime from there. There were 2 shots. I couldn't do anything to stop it. Oh. Let's press that one. this is a statement we know somewhat is true. You're certain you heard 2 shots fired? Yes, quite certain. I was on my way to the backstage exit. This was when I heard a faint sound, like a gunshot. Wondering what it had been, I peered through the window. That is when I heard the second gunshot, much closer. There were 2 bullet holes to the scene. No contradictions so far. It all happened on the other side of that window. There was nothing I could do. But it wasn't Machi. Well, it wasn't Machi more for the point that he couldn't wield the gun. It wasn't Machi who shot. Are you sure? Yes, you know it for certain. Yes, quite certain. It amuses me that you would question your testimony. His testimony in your favour. Isn't it my job to object? Yeah, Apollo, what were you thinking? True, see, let's just listen to what Lamiroir has to say. Can you tell me how you were so sure? Yes, of course. You see, it was a grown person. I know it was. Please tell me she's going to say the statement I wanted to say. A grown person. That's a little vague. I'm sorry. My skill with your language is lacking, I know.
Certainly you could at least see whether the shooter was male or female.
Indeed. It was a man. A young man.
And you're sure of that?
Yes, his voice was quite clear. Voice?
Looking at this diagram, it seems the dressing room was quite cluttered. It does seem likely that you wouldn't have had a clear view of the shooter.
As a singer, I rely more on my ears than my eyes. My eyes than my ears, my ears, my eyes. When I hear a voice, I do not forget it. That voice was the voice of a man.
So you heard a voice. But wait. Couldn't that have been the victim, Mr. Latouze?
Absolutely not. Did I not just say I do not forget a voice? If it was Mr. Latouze who spoke, I would have known.
Indeed. So you were at the window and you heard the shooter's voice. The voice of a young man.
Apollo, this is a good testimony. That proves it wasn't Machi.
Indeed. If this turns out to be true, it would cast this case in a considerably different light. What is the defense's opinion of this testimony?
It's not actually good. That's the problem. It's pretty good because of something, but it's contradictory because of the size of the escapee. Also, I'd love to see that picture again. That window was closed with a do not open thing under it. Could she hear it through the pane of glass? Yes. Could she hear it through the pane of glass with the gig currently going and blaring at full volume? It showed us that picture several times. Am I doing this the Apollo Justice way, or more to the point the Phoenix or Ace Attorney way? Am I over-scrutinizing this? When a testimony is in our favour, it's never in our favour. Do you know what I mean? It's too good to be true. That is what we know, if anything, if we learned from Ace Attorney. Though it pains me to say this, there's something about Lamiroir's testimony that rings false. Ha! Bravo, Herr Forehead. You're colder than I thought. I'm sure you remember what the problem is as well as I do, Gavin. As has been established, no grown man could pass through that air vent. He couldn't have fled the scene of the crime. But that means Lamiroir has to be lying. I know, and I know it's bad for our case, but I can't shut my eyes to this. Believe me, the idea was tempting. It is as Herr Forehead says. Yet this is not the only contradiction within her testimony. What next? What's he talking about? Lamiroir, I understand why you would want to protect Machi. Yet remember, you are the siren of the ballad. And lies do not become such a creature.
What does the prosecution mean?
Apollo, what's he talking about? How come no one bats an eye when he says stuff like that? I recall the state of the crime scene quite well. The state of the room? Yes, and when the murder took place. That window was closed. See, I told you the do not open was like blaringly obvious in that picture. I find it hard to believe you could hear a voice through it. What? But I'm sure. Lamiroir, I have nothing but the highest regard for your musical sense. I would like to stop what we're doing for the second to say that I don't even believe that she was even at that window at this point in time. Because I really do believe that something happened with that window, and that window was opened, and that the shot probably came from the window. But then I'm probably completely wrong. But it's just the only thing that kind of makes sense is that the person didn't escape the room because they weren't even in the blooming room. Someone did come to the door, and that's the noise we heard, but I do not believe there was anyone in that room. And why would he be facing that way to get shot? He'd be cornering someone. I don't know. Well, let's continue on. And my opinion of you as a witness is somewhat lesser. But she's the only eyewitness we have! So you say. And the victim named her the Siren as the witness. That's right! That's what Mr. Latou's... We heard your claim. We even entertained the possibility, and it brought us to this. Herr Judge.
Yes?
The prosecution requested the witness be excused. Please.
I'm afraid I must honor the prosecution's request. There is indeed a question of the witness's credibility.
But if Lamiroir can't testify, then we don't have a chance of proving Machi's innocence.
This cross-examination is over. Prosecutor Gavin, you may continue making your case.
Danke. Now, where were we? Ah, yes. I would like to hear from Fraulein Detective again.
Objection!
Wait, let me hear Lamiroir's testimony one last time.
But the cross-examination is already over. Until such a time as a need arises, this witness may leave the stand.
I'm sorry I could not be of more assistance. Alas, back to the real trial. Ready, Air Forehead? I wouldn't just miss my only chance. Fraulein Detective, how far had we gotten until we were so rudely interrupted? Don't ask me. I dislike saying the same thing twice, and I never repeat a song for an encore.
If you would, Miss Sky.
I believe I was saying that the only way Mr. Latou's killer could have escaped was through that air vent on the ceiling.
Ah, yes, there was only one door in the room, and a witness, you, was standing in front of it.
That air vent isn't very big, see? Kind of limits the people who could possibly get through.
I certainly would have a difficult time.
You sure would. Well, you would have been there in the first place, though. Remember, the whole backstage area was off limits to people not involved with the concert. The only one who meets the conditions for our killer is the defendant. A virtuoso performance. I couldn't have put it better myself.
She does state a clear case. Though, reading the report, something caught my eye.
Oh, what's that?
The circumstances of the defendant's arrest.
The circumstances? Again? Hey, that's right, Apollo. Remember where we found Machi? That was bizarre. She's right. Why did Mr. Latou's body disappear from the room and end up on top of that stage tower? Holding a guitar, no less. A guitar. A perceptive observation, Herr Judge.
Ah, thanks. It was kind of an accident, really. But you work in this job long enough. You get a nose for things.
The judge sure seems pleased with himself. Very good, Fraulein Detective. Perhaps you can tie it all together for us. Why was the body moved?
And how does that lead us to the killer?
I believe Machi stole the body because of some lyrics. He moved the body to match Lamiroir's song. No one in this country had a motive to kill the victim, and Machi practically left his signature at the scene. All of this evidence clearly points to the defendant. Signature. Lamiroir's song? Yes, the guitar's serenade. You noticed its code too, did you not? Its code? All the events that day followed the lyrics to our song. We were already pointing out, weren't we? First, the keys my heart held onto so tightly were stolen. Then Prosecutor Gavin's guitar burst into flames on stage. Mr. Latou's life was taken by a bullet. The rest hardly needs explanation. Guitar, guitar, up together to the sky.
That's mad! It's like a story out of some fairy tale.
I admit I've forgotten about the song. There it is now, waiting for me. The grand finale, as we were. Hey, You know I was the one who first noticed that.
I've heard of jumping rope to songs and counting to songs, but killing?
It's a wild world out there, Herr Judge.
Very well. We've heard one song and dance. Let's get on to the next. The cross-examination.
I'm not so sure I'm going to be doing much singing. I believe Machi stole the body because of some lyrics. Who would steal a body just to match some lyrics? I didn't believe it myself, but it can't just be a coincidence.
It is as Fraulein Detective says. Let's begin with the first verse, if you would, Fraulein Detective.
What? You want me to sing it?
You are the witness, yeah? Or did you want me to sing? I warn you, my fee as vocalist is not trivial.
Fine, fine. Let's look at the first part of the lyrics, shall we?
Oh god, we got the whole thing again?
When you stole away the keys my heart held on to so tight.
Indeed, my favourite heart-shaped keyring was stolen that morning.
Next, we go to the right page of the lyric sheet. Where we find, burning on in my heart, fire, burn my love away, all away. As we know, Prosecutor Gavin's guitar bursts into flame. Like a bullet of love, fire, take my life away, all away. Mr. Latouse's life was taken by a bullet.
Bravo, Fraulein Detective. Your singing is not bad. Now for the finale. Guitar, guitar, up together to the sky. As it says in the lyrics, Mr. Latouze was found with a guitar high in the sky over the stage. No series of coincidences could be so well conceived.
He's right, scientifically speaking.
What would Waki have said? That console was whack!
It's hard to argue when she pours her heart into it like that. Anyway, the shooter. He moved the body to match Lamiroir's song.
How? He's a kid if you're saying it's Machi. Does the prosecution have any idea why he'd do all this?
You want my scientific opinion? No clue. But he clearly had a reason to go through all that trouble. Some deep reason.
A deep reason? Not only did he steal my keys, he torched my guitar. Unforgivable acts even if he had a reason. And worse if he had none.
Diva's complaints aside, I can't imagine someone doing this on just a whim.
Fraulein Detective, I take offense at that description. Indeed, it does seem too well rehearsed, shall we say.
Yes, this crime was planned for sure. No one in this country had a motive to kill the victim.
But Mr. Latouze spoke English. He may have come to this country before.
I looked into that, I assure you.
Oh?
It was his first time in the country, it seems. Apparently, he learned English on his own.
Great. You see, no one here had a motive to kill him, and certainly not in such an elaborate fashion. It does seem difficult to imagine.
Unless our famous prosecutor did it as a publicity stunt.
What did you say? Prosecutor Gavin, you did this to promote your song? Of course not, and I'm quite dismayed by the ludicrous nature of her claim. Why would I need promotion? Everybody already listens to my music.
They're even in my textbook at school.
I never heard of them. What does that say about me?
I was just kidding. Don't get all worked up, Glimmer Boy. And Machi practically left his signature at the scene.
Now this is the interesting statement.
What do you mean by his signature? The bullet holes in the wall, of course.
The bullet holes?
The revolver was fired twice. One shot missed and left a hole in the wall.
And that means what exactly?
That dressing room isn't exactly spacious. Picture the shooter facing off with the victim in there. They can't have been more than 5 feet apart. It would be difficult, almost impossible to miss at that range.
Difficult to miss, you say?
Very. Assuming the shooter could properly aim.
No, you can't be serious. Also, what if the first shot hit and the second shot missed?
Machi, he can't see. That's why he missed?
Well, if you're saying that, how did he A, get a ladder up to the vent, B, undo the vent, find the vent's position so fast? If he's blind,
How does he do all of this miraculous stuff as a blind child? It's the only explanation that makes sense. He used sound and other senses to fire the gun. Oh yeah, sure. Okay, I can maybe get this a little bit. Poorly. Yes, because he just shot his arm with the first shot.
It reminds me, the monster in that room was blaring at the time, yeah? Hardly ideal conditions for tracking by sound. A blind shooter! No wonder he missed.
Why do you think this is true? I knew those bullet holes would come out to haunt me. Think, Justice, what do I do now? Raise an objection or sit back and watch? I don't even know if it's point to object. But surely he just shattered his arm. Sure, there were bullet holes left in the wall. But that doesn't prove the shooter couldn't see. Oh, how so? Well, there could have been a struggle with the victim.
That's certainly possible.
And it might have been the revolver's fault.
The revolver?
The revolver was a very large caliber, correct?
If the shooter wasn't used to firing such a large weapon, why it could dislocate their shoulder?
Exactly. Point out he's a kid now. The defendant, Machi is, as you can see, tiny. It's not so hard to picture him firing the gun and missing entirely. The kickback alone would throw off his aim.
A convincing argument, to be sure.
You idiot. But then I just said, like, okay, I've just given a different reason of why you'd miss, not the blindness for a little kid. Why can't you say you'd have shattered his shoulder? Because it really would have. You idiot. God. Ha! Take that, smug prosecution. Apollo? Huh? What? That bit about Machi being tiny. And the gun throwing off his aim? Aren't you kind of, admitting that he did it? Oh.
It does not matter why he missed. What matters is that the shooter was, without a doubt, the defendant. Even the defense seems to agree on that point.
Cripes, I really put my foot into it this time.
Well, let's get the facts of the matter on the record. If you would, Fräulein Detective. Very well. The witness will add this to her testimony.
Right. From the state of the crime scene, I conclude the shooter was blind. Is that the added bit to the testimony? Let's press this too. You can't say he was blind just because of those bullet holes in the wall. I think I've proven that. I wouldn't call it proof per se. Huh?
You've merely raised a possibility. Fräulein Detective has made a most logical conjecture based upon the evidence. Of course, there is more evidence than just bullet holes. The defendant was the only one who could have escaped through the air vent.
Wait, if he was blind, how would he know about the air vent in the first place?
Ah, a very good point. Well, Fräulein Detective, if you would care to explain.
Thank you. He certainly seems sure of himself. Recall the crime scene if you would. There was a stepladder below the air vent. As it happens, maintenance was scheduled for that day. Custodial staff went around checking all the air vents. I don't believe it. Everyone backstage was told about the maintenance, including Machi. He would have known that there would be a way out at the top of that stepladder.
But that's... Why is this the first time I'm hearing about this? You could have figured it out for yourself. You only needed to consider what that stepladder was doing there.
I thought it was just like every game, where stepladders are everywhere.
Looks like the defense's objection has been squished by a stepladder. Well, Herr Forehead? Out of ammunition, perhaps?
I've never seen Prosecutor Gavin so aggressive.
Maybe he's caught the scent of blood.
Apollo, don't you have something? Anything? You know what we need? We need something to prove the killer could see. That'll put him in his place. Proving the shooter was sighted would do it. That would take down one of their central points. Do I have any evidence that can prove that, though? Obviously I do. Time to do the check and sweep. No. Maybe, but then you could hear the lyrics spoken. The postcard, not anything useful. Well, that's not. I mean, the revolver itself is ridiculous, but that's not proving the person's sighted. That's not proving the person's sighted. That's not proving the person's sighted. That's not proving the person's sighted.
probably proving they didn't see there was a keyring. Or actually, it would be the keyring placed in the hands. This is an autopsy report. That wouldn't prove the person cited. I mean, the diagram probably would, because to navigate that room looks like hell. How would you... I don't even understand. You're in a new location. How would you know the layout so well, so fast? I guess you get used to it over time. I mean, if I do have any blind viewers, so to say, for a game which is mostly spoken, and that I explain everything for, please say if you would. But then, yeah, it's a thing. So that would leave this, which I think we can see what we're aiming for. Elimination of all the evidence up until one point. Aha. By Jove, I think we've got it. Fine, I accept the prosecution's challenge. I do indeed, but the challenge will be met next episode on Apollo Justice. Join me then as we present a little bit of evidence. Haha. So, the killer was cited, were they? Were they? Don't want to say he or she. We don't know yet. I'll see you next time for more. Bye-bye.